Hi, how are you? This is Milan Lisanovic. In this week's post of mine, I wanted to talk to young violists out there. When I was making the introductory video for my residency, one of the questions that I answered was, what advice would you give to young violists out there? So I actually thought about this a lot. What advice would I have found really useful if I had been told these things when I was, let's say, 18 or 21 years old and I was just starting conservatory or grad school? So here it is. I've come up with 5 things that I hope will help you make a difference in your practicing, in the way you listen, learn, and how you organize your practice time and so on. The first thing I would say was practice without the instrument. This is really important. When I was younger, I listened to the pieces and I practiced, and I was hoping that this way I'd start to get a better idea of what I wanted to do with this, and of course I try to solve technical problems at the same time, and this is the way I worked at it. Now that I'm older, I can tell you this is not the most efficient way, and this is far from the best way, because you need to clarify what you're looking for, which actually having the instrument in your hands is sometimes not really helpful with. So this actually brings me to the second point which I want to make, which is that you ultimately can only play what's inside yourself. You cannot sound better than that. It's simply not going to happen. You have to sharpen your mental picture. The sound that you have in your ears, the intonation you have in your ears, the kind of variety of ideas, a sense of flow, of structure, of phrasing. All this is only going to come out in your playing if it's inside your head to begin with. There simply is no other way to get there. It's not just with practicing the viola that you're going to get better at these abstract things that you're looking for as a musician. To really get better at them, you need to treat your brain and your inner ear as a muscle. It's something that gets better with practice, even if this practice is purely mental and there is no movement involved. So there you are. Work on your mental picture, practice without the instrument. And these are some things that I really wish I had done more when I was younger. It would have saved me, I think, quite some time. The third thing I wanted to say to those who sometimes get discouraged and don't necessarily know what to do when they feel that weeks, if not months of practicing haven't yielded any big results. And I have news for you. Don't look for big results. That's right. Don't look for breakthroughs. Now that I'm older, I know full well that this is simply not how it works. Getting better at anything consists of, if you're lucky and if you're good, 1% improvements every day. I know this sounds like very little. What can I possibly achieve with improving 1% per day, you might say? Well, if you improve 1% a day, by the end of the year, you will improve 3,700%. You will be 37 times better than what you're doing. This is actually the way to work at anything, including playing the viola. You want to have that awareness, have that curiosity, look for little ways to fine-tune your sound, fine-tune your posture, fine-tune the way you listen, fine-tune your vibrato, fine-tune the way you play a jumping stroke, and exactly what is it exactly you want it to sound like. Sometimes on certain days there'll be no improvements, but even if it's only every 10th day that you make a 1% improvement, you can see how quickly this is going to get you places. So this is something that I wish I had known when I was younger, because I occasionally sensed frustration or lack of interest in practicing because I felt that, it takes so long to get somewhere. Well, it does, but a refreshing thing is that actually these small improvements you can make when you practice really add up. One thing I also wish I had done, and it's closely related to what I just said, is if you have trouble motivating yourself to practice, and I certainly had many peers of mine, many people I went to school with, didn't like practicing. Some did, some loved it. That I wouldn't really venture a guess so as to what the majority was, but I knew a lot of people who didn't like to practice, and I was one of them. A couple of years ago, I discovered something called the Pomodoro method, and you might want to look this up. So Pomodoro, like tomato in Italian. It's really quite simple. You get a kitchen timer, in this case shaped like a tomato because it's cute and it'll make you want to use it. And you set the timer for 25 minutes and then you do whatever it is that you don't really feel like doing for those 25 minutes. You really focus on it. No distractions. When I started to practice this way, I have to say I found practicing a lot more enjoyable because it makes it something manageable. It becomes this series of little periods you need to put in. When that little bell rings, you feel like you've accomplished something, and the truth is you actually have. You've been working for some time, then you can take a 5 or 15-minute break, then you practice again. So if you don't like practicing, use the Pomodoro method. I really wish I had found out about it earlier, but ever since I found out about it, I've actually found the kind of long, steady, exhausting work that we sometimes have to do with our instrument. I found it a lot more enjoyable and a lot easier actually to do on a consistent basis. And my fifth and final piece of advice is somewhat general. It applies also to not just violists. It could apply to absolutely anybody who is studying to be a musician. And I would suggest that you learn how to play piano as well as you can because you want that skill. You want it on your side to be able to learn how to play and hear scores of chamber and symphonic music as well as you can. Again, internally. This is a skill that I really wish I had spent more time on when I was younger. And I find that these days, with how specialized music education is, I mean, if you're learning how to be a violist, you spend a lot of time on this, you spend some time in orchestra, you spend some time on ear training, and so on. Score study is, again, looks like one of those things that maybe you'll do later. I would say do it as soon as you can. Beginning of your college years seems like an excellent start. This is one of those things that's going to pay incredible dividends to you as you get older because you will see just how much your thinking is shaped by playing a melodic instrument. And you want to develop different ways of looking at music when you can have lots of pieces of information come at you at the same time, and you want to be able to read it and also see the big picture because scores, when you see them for the first time, are very overwhelming. There's just a lot of information in there. But with practice, your brain learns how to filter what's important and what is less important or what repeats in multiple voices at the same time, and ultimately you see it as what it is, which is usually just 4 lines at a time. So this is something that I wish I had been told when I was younger. To study scores and to steadily, which takes years really, steadily get better at reading them because it's a skill that you will need a great deal when you're a mature musician, and it's going to just, again, develop your inner ear and your brain like a muscle to a point where it may very well change the way you hear music completely. So don't let viola shape the way you hear music. There's really a lot more to it out there. Thank you very much. I hope some of this is going to make a difference in your lives as students, as lovers of music, as violists. I hope that this has been helpful and instructive. Please leave your comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you. And we'll talk again next week. Thank you. Bye.